This is the Lutheran Education Podcast, a bi-weekly podcast where we explore issues, trends, and events surrounding Christian education with your hosts, Richard Schumacher, Senior Director of Operations at LSEM, and Dr. Tracy Salgado, Director of Special Education at LSEM.
Welcome to the Lutheran Education Podcast, brought to you by Lutheran Special Education Ministries. I am your host. My name is Richard Schumacher. I am the Senior Director of Operations at LSEM, and really excited today. We have a returning guest back to the podcast. This is an educator who has worn many hats over the course of his career and has just actually replaced that hat once again. And no, I'm not talking about his camouflage hunting cap, but we're talking about Dr. Thomas Wrege, the new executive director of the Lutheran Education Association. Tom, thank you so very much for your time and for joining us once again on the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. I always appreciate being on with you, and we're doing the Lord's work together, Rich.
It's exciting to see the trend. Again, congratulations formally on the new position, and we're all very excited to see where God is going to lead you and the good folks at LEA as you help to lead and shape what we do in Lutheran schools. Again, you've been on enough times to where I don't really need to go through the tell us your backstory question that I often speak with, but tell us a little bit about becoming the executive director at LEA. I mean, I don't need details and dates and conversations. There's nothing, clandestine or anything crazy like that. But just talk a little bit about what it was like to be in a position to be able to have your name in consideration to interview and to now be named the head of the organization.
Yeah, thanks for that, Rich. And stories are important, so I think it is good to start out with the story. And I'm a firm believer, I believe you are too, that life in the kingdom is a journey. And God provides steps. We don't always know what direction we're headed or what path we're going down, but I have always believed that we live and learn as we move forward, and each step helps to equip us better for what God has in mind, for whatever He wants us to be doing as far as kingdom work. So, to your question, um, I have been a consultant for Lutheran schools for about a year and a half after sitting in the principal's chair for quite a number of years, teacher before that, military before that. And I really thought I would retire being a consultant because I had loved it. Um, Leading one school, wonderful, enjoyed every step of the way. But connecting with dozens and dozens and dozens of Lutheran leaders at Lutheran schools to see how I could support them in sustainability efforts had been very rewarding. But sometimes God has a sense of humor, and I think this may be one of those cases. Um, I was happy, and then um, the LEA board of directors started talking about succession. And Dr. John Laabs, who has led LEA for almost 29 years, he made it known that he was ready to retire and pass on the baton. And I would say several years ago, he and I had a discussion. We were in his car on the way to Concordia, Nebraska for a conference together. And he just out of the blue said, Tom, someday I will retire. Would you ever have an interest in this position? And it was just like, oh, he just asked me that. And I said out loud, yeah, I think I would consider it, John. And time goes by, months go by, years go by, and then the LEA board of directors creates a succession team to start the process. And that was early this calendar year. Well, that last calendar year, 2025. Um, and so there's a certain point where an application was open, and then when the application would close. Um, I wasn't certain that that was the path, nor was my wife, that God wanted us to take. Because, like I said, Rich, I was enjoying what I was doing
Hmm?
and affecting ministry in hopefully very positive ways. Then I start getting phone calls and emails and texts and person to person people saying, Tom, you have to apply. We really need you to consider this. And one of them was a very special personal phone call from a friend. And she just said, Tom, just listen to my heart. You need to apply for this. And Kevin and I, my wife and I, we prayed about it over a couple of days and we just decided, yeah, whatever, however the Lord will lead. And I didn't know how big the pool would be of applicants, but I put in my video that they requested and my CV, letters of recommendation, et cetera, all those things you do when you apply for a position. And over a series of weeks and months, I just seemed to move forward through the interview processes, face to face. And then one night last September, I get this phone call from the board chair, and he said, "Tom, you're the one." And I said, "Wow, thanks." And my wife came running in and sat down, both thumbs up. She told me later she already knew. And then John Laabs called me 10 minutes later and said, "Congratulations." And then it really like hit us like, okay, I'm going to be sitting in that chair this time and working on behalf of all of our Lutheran schools and all of our educators, just like we do at LSEM, um, and potentially even globally. And I'm just really excited about the opportunity. And I know that God has equipped me. I'm just humbly thankful to Him and for the whole process that He put in place through the LEA Succession Committee and Board. And so, yeah, now it's the rubber hits the road, and my calendar will start filling up for 2026. So, long answer to your question, but it's a bit of a story, and it just helps set the stage, I think.
No, it's fantastic. I was actually head spinning a little bit when you'd mentioned that John Laabs had been in that position for 29 years. He was the dean of the School of Education at Concordia Ann Arbor when I graduated there. So uh, when you said 29 years, that was a bit of a cold bucket of water, but the years have gone by. Talk a little bit about John Laabs and just kind of who he is and from your perspective, because you've been very active with LEA over the years under his leadership, serving on boards and in different capacities there. Just talk a little bit about John and the work that he's done and the legacy that he has left, not only within LEA but within all of our Lutheran schools.
I really appreciate that question so much. We just wrapped up the convocation this past October. And one of the things that I think everyone wanted to do was how can we honor this man who basically spent the largest portion of his career doing what we just talked about, honoring our schools, supporting, being resourceful, innovative, all those things. I'll just start out by saying that John is a wonderful friend. He is a very confident leader. Um, he is one who humbly serves and has served. Like you said, even way before LEA, he was a teacher, he was a principal, he was multiple leader in various areas. But John also knew when it was time to pass on the baton. But he has and has had grand ideas on how to support our schools. I think if you mention the name John Lobbs, people know who that is. And it's not because he put his name out there, it's because he has facilitated so many good things for our Lutheran system. I don't know that he would tell you that, but I'm telling everyone here who's listening to this that we just need to prayerfully thank God for his years of service, for his great passion for the LCMS in our Lutheran schools and the system. But not only that, he's very forward-looking. He has incredible ideas. He hasn't been able to make all of those happen, as none of us would. But he's been able to make a lot of them happen, and he's passing on some of those ideas for me to consider also. So John is a humble servant. He loves the Lord. If you ever watched him in a crowd, he is a relational people pleaser, likes to build networking relationships, and he's highly respected anywhere he goes. And so I have really, really big shoes to fill. But here's the good part. John has told me that he is right there with me, even if retired, to answer questions, to be a resource, to participate in any way. So it just doesn't get much better than that if you have former leader walking with you side by side to help you move forward in a very positive direction. John, he's just a godsend in so many ways.
Couldn't agree more with everything you've said there. Uh, I do wonder though, just knowing you and your love for the outdoors, Tom, if you were also wondering, did Ed invite you to take you on any fishing trips? Because I'm sure in retirement, Ed's getting out to the water as often as he can, and I would think that that might be an offer that would be almost as appealing as John's.
Oh, for sure. Boy, you know me well, Rich. Well, and one of the stories a lot of people know about me is that whenever I have received a call or I've been contemplating a call, including this one, because it fits with your question, right at the end of whatever interview, I always say, just so you all know, there has to be time for me to hunt, fish, camp, because that's my peace. And that's where God gives me time to reflect and to pray. And Ed is one of those people too who, if he did ask me to go fishing with him, I'd be there in an instant, and we would probably just talk shop and enjoy our friendship and try to catch fish too.
All right. If Ed Gruby is listening to this, you are on notice. And if you need someone to carry bait, give me a call. Uh, so, so we're talking with Dr. Thomas Wrege, Executive Director at LEA. So, for those people who only know John as being that guy that threw that killer party every 3 years, uh, and then probably doesn't do much else the other 35 months out of that triennium. Uh, pastors only work one day a week. John works one weekend a year, or every 3 years, that sort of thing.
Oh,
Uh,
Rich.
I know. Tongue very firmly in cheek. But for
Yeah.
those folks that don't know what else that job entails, what are some of the other things that being the executive director of LEA encompasses? So, where will you be spending your time on a day by day, year by year? What are the other things that you do besides help organize and plan a convocation every 3 years?
Yeah, I've already had that question numerous times. We'll continue with a lot of the things that we already do, and there's a lot of preparation that goes into that. You know, the blogs that we do, the podcasts, we have administrators conferences. We participate as exhibitors or vendors in certain places. We have the awards program, which is significant in all of Lutheranism, and that is, Early Childhood Educator of the Year, uh, the Christus Magister Award. We have a number of them, and that will continue on. And you have to have committees together to talk through the applications there. There's travel as well. Like you mentioned the convocation every 3 years. You have to choose the place. You have to sign contracts. You have to visit the place first to make sure the venue is proper. So I would say the list of details is probably endless. So all that has to be organized well. I think it's also building relationships with our district execs, with the Office of School Ministry, LCMS. with other entities like the Cape leaders in the various states, Washington, D.C. LEA is an influencer, and John has built so many relationships, and I would hope that that would be segued to me. So it's travel to those places, it's participating, there's gospel, there's Confidex, the list goes on and on. We're also considering, I think you may have heard me say, global opportunities.
Mhm.
In some cases, those are brand new conversations, and I will be traveling to Scotland in March of this year um, to talk to other Christian leaders from around the globe in Scotland, just to be able to talk through how can we have flourishing schools, not just in our own nation, but all over the globe, and to allow the Holy Spirit to work and just to bless our efforts so that the Great Commission can be fulfilled. Um, and there's lots of people I haven't met yet that I just need to meet. And the list goes on and on. So, I mean, I could probably write a whole notebook about the things that need to be done, but I don't want to be overwhelmed, and that can be overwhelming. So, just one step at a time. So, trip-wise, it's I'll be installed at Concordia University, Chicago, um, in about 3 weeks. And then we'll have our first official board meeting on campus there too. I'll also be installed at my home congregation here in Texas. And so we'll have people involved in both of the installation. The official one would be Chicago. The affirmation of installation will be at Zion and Walburg. And then February is the admin conference, and that butts up against best practices. So I'll be participating in both of those. And then I already mentioned Scotland. And then we have our regular board meetings, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a little bit of a picture of some of the things I'll be doing. I will be up front, though. Some of the things I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing yet. I have to find out.
So nice honeymoon period to kind of ease your way into the position. We're talking with Dr. Thomas Wrege on the podcast here. So, Tom, it's great to see that they're giving you a little bit of a honeymoon as you come into the position here. Just a few days before you fly off to Scotland to do that. I'm glad you mentioned the different organizations within the LCMS because I don't know that a lot of our Lutheran teachers recognize all of the interactions that are happening either publicly or behind the scenes between LEA and school ministry, between LEA and the education executives, LEA and the Concordia University system. All those different entities, which we all know, ALSS shouldn't leave them off the table here. All these are groups that we know, but we always maybe kind of put each in a silo and don't really, connect the fact that these are folks that are all working very hard together to collaborate and to come up with the ideas that they're needing. So, what do you see as the strengths of LEA? What LEA can bring to each of those different areas because of the nature of the organization and the work that it does?
Great question. And yeah, I did leave out some of those. I'm glad you mentioned ALSS. And with our Concordia universities, I've already had multiple requests to appear on campus so I can meet people there and just have them be introduced to me also. Um, yeah, it's an important thing. And I didn't mention really staff either. We have a staff that I will be working with. And one of the first questions I asked John was, do you know if they want to stick around when I come on as new, or are they all going to leave? And to a person, as far as I know, they are set to stay, and they are amazing people that God has blessed us with. Yeah. So, ask me very specifically again what it is you want me to answer with that request, Rich.
So, what are some of the things that LEA is able to provide uh, to enhance the work of groups like ALSS, groups like polls, groups like the school ministry, Concordia system? Being being a little bit more independent, being very broad reaching, how do you make things work better for those organizations?
I don't know if I truly have an answer to that yet because I'm coming in as a new leader. I would say that things will continue at least for the time being because they are all value add items, the things I've already mentioned. I will mention something new that was announced at last fall's convocation that I think could be significant, and that is the board has created a named endowment, and the name is, of course, Dr. Jonathan C. Laabs, to honor him as a leader for so many years. When you talk about endowments, those are visionary. And so it's a sustainability effort of um, building funds in an endowment to the point where the distributions that come forth annually can help us resource-wise to be able to work on other projects that perhaps we haven't thought about before. And so that's one of the very foundational pieces that we will start by the end of this first quarter. And so we'll have mass communication going out with that, marketing, positioning, and opportunities for anyone who's interested to give to that endowment with the purpose of just having a really strong vision to continue to provide the value. I think it's collaborative efforts also. I mean, you look at our almost 2,000 Lutheran schools. And what I've found, especially as a consultant, is we don't always work together. And when we work together, typically great things can happen. And so there have been some regional events like Michigan and Indiana and Ohio gatherings that have been extremely successful. That was kind of a pilot, but I believe that can be transferred to other regional areas also. Um, and I know there were probably 13 to 1,500 people just from those three states that participated. Um, and then if you look at our Concordias, um, and we have potential church work students there, we have a huge shortage in front of us as we've had for quite some time now. But I believe LEA can help assist with pulling those church work students together to maybe better fully support them through the Concordia University system. We do that with a program called Grow a Teacher, which is our opportunity to pay for the entire registration for every student to go to the convocation. But I think we can go way beyond that because it's God's people that we need to support. And if we can take what LEA has to offer and very creatively or innovatively support prospective teachers better, we're going to do it. We also know that there are a large number of teachers, educators, church workers in the system that didn't go to one of our Concordias. And so that ratio has changed a lot through the years. And we just need to be able to best support our educators, no matter what their background is in education, but so they fully understand the mission of LEA and how we can assist others, affirming, equipping, learning as we move forward.
Excellent, excellent. Uh, Probably a good time to take our break here, so we'll go ahead and do that. We'll rejoin the conversation with Dr. Thomas Wrege in just a moment. You're listening to the Lutheran Education Podcast brought to you by Lutheran Special Education Ministries.
Thank you for listening. If you like what you hear today, please consider sharing our podcast with friends and colleagues in the industry. Again, thank you for listening to the Lutheran Education Podcast.
And welcome back to the Lutheran Education Podcast brought to you by LSEM. I'm Richard Schumacher, and we're blessed again to have Dr. Thomas Wrege, Executive Director of the Lutheran Education Association, with us on the podcast. So, Tom, we talked earlier about Ed Gruby taking you out fishing. Now, Ed's a Chicago guy, so I'm sure he knows a lot of northern Chicago, Great Lakes areas to kind of fish. Probably got a few honey holes up in that part of the world. But let's say for kicks and grins, you were taking Ed to the best fishing destination you could possibly take him to, where would that be and what would you be catching?
Well, first of all, Ed would be a master at telling fish stories. We already know that, right?
Absolutely.
And if he is listening to this, I'm sure there's a grin that's come to him ear to ear. Um, I would bring Ed to Texas, where I currently live and where my office is going to be for LEA. So actually, the board has allowed me to not have to move, but to stay in Texas and lead from here. So I would bring Ed here, and we have this fish called the white bass. And a lot of people have never heard of it before because it mainly is here in the South. And I didn't know what it was when we moved here 12 years ago. But I had a neighbor who took me white bass fishing, and he said, Tom, you will not believe, number one, how well these fish fight and how many you can catch legally. And they're probably the best tasting fish I've ever eaten. So he took me to a spot, and sure enough, great fight. And then I said, Alan, how many of these can we keep? What's our limit? 25. I'd never heard of
Wow.
that before. Yes. So we were able to fill up our stringers. I'm not saying we always did, but we tried. And then my wife is always um, asking me, Tom, I know you like catch and release, but would you please keep some of these fish that we've heard so much about and bring them home so we can have a nice meal and see if they are indeed the best fish we've ever tasted? And we both agreed. Amazing. So, Ed, if you're listening, I would take you white bass fishing. I love the question, Rich. You
Not a
made me
problem.
smile. And
Not
that
a
is not a
problem.
fish story. That would be a real deal.
All right, so of course now the other side of that is now every other administrator out there who likes to fish is going to be looking for Tom to host an LEA event in Texas, and we know what the recreational time will be. Some will golf, many will fish.
Yep, you got that right.
All right, excellent. So, um, we recently had Dr. Alan Freeman from Lutheran School Ministry on the podcast, and he had mentioned that over the last 10 years or so, we've seen a pretty sharp number of retirements for administrators within LCMS schools, and talked a little bit about some of the impacts that that's having and the importance that the administrator plays, obviously, on setting the professional tone, but also the spiritual tone within a school in partnership with the pastors and everyone else there at the congregation. So, just wanting to pick your brain, Tom, as you look at LEA and the role that it has in supporting our administrators in schools, what do you see as some of the challenges that come up from that, and perhaps some of the solutions that we as a church body and specifically LEA could offer to help?
Well, I would have to concur with Dr. Freeman. That would be a critical answer that we need to find and grasp onto, and then apply it to our Lutheran school leaders. I'll just start with this. In a past convocation, I was able to introduce a leader who then led what's called a panel discussion. Gretchen Jameson, a lot of you know her, amazing leader, very succinct and wise in the way she asks questions and provides answers. But we had the Concordia University presidents on stage, and she led a facilitated panel discussion about questions just like this, but kind of at the university level. I think we could do that with finding administrators um, who really understand what it means to be distinctively Lutheran, what it means to lead a Lutheran school well, including culture and pastor-principal relationships, ensuring there's Bible studies in place, devotional time, all those things. I believe when you put people in front of others that are well respected, that have seen and witnessed and experienced success, they can help spread the word about, okay, this is where we can go with this and start to provide some application solutions. And I would think we could do that maybe quarterly. We'd pick maybe 3 or 4 people for each panel, and then we would ask very pertinent questions that would help us understand maybe what the problem could be, what the solution could be, and then how to create action from those conversations. And it may take a while, but I just think when we talk to others who are really in the know, it can really provide some real solutions for our Lutheran schools. And you mentioned colloquy. Um, we have a very strong presence with the director of colloquy in LEA right now, and I believe that will continue. Um, and I don't know if that program, will stay the same or if it will be revised in any way, shape, or form. But I know the leader, and I believe he's the type of person that listens well, and he has the hearts and minds of those who would colloquize in a good place so that we could, again, not just teachers, but we're talking mainly about administrators here also. And we've talked about SLED before. I was in SLED 1 many, 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 many years ago. I still remember it well. I had one person at the convocation come up to me, Tom, we were in SLED 1 together. Do you remember those days? And then I've been a mentor also, which is very rewarding. But I'm just really thankful we have something like that in place. And it's a year-long mentorship with the proteges that I think can really assist with understanding and applying how to be principles that God intends us to have in our Lutheran schools to lead well, um, and to grow our schools for the sake of the gospel and the Great Commission, um, and to be the school of choice in communities in Christian education. So that's just a few ideas. I could probably go on for another half hour, but you get the thought. And I think the panel discussions, that might be the most creative one or innovative one. But I know there are people out there, including someone like you, who would be able to sit in a chair and talk to people across the country. Hey, this is what works. This is what we have to remember. Let's um, honor God in the way we handle ourselves and the way we lead. And I just think it could make a difference.
Excellent, excellent. Love and echo many of the thoughts that you shared on there. Again, the day that we lose the ministry component and transition into a really phenomenal private school organization or private school entity would be a sad one, because that's, while it's an admirable piece of what we do, it's not the most important piece of what we do. And again, that Christ first in everything is so critically important. And
There's
to
a
go
there's a
ahead.
couple of other things, if you don't mind me just sharing these. I mentioned SLED first because that's our synodical professional development program for our prospective principals or early on principals. We also have big tent philosophy, which goes beyond our Lutheran system,
Mhm.
and that would be like Van Lunen to become a fellow, and some of the most incredible professional development one could experience. And now we have the Herzog Foundation too, which I participated in their PD on culture with my friend Bob Ziegler, and it was um, just done so well. And so I think we can take those ideas from other organizations too. And if they seem to fit who we are as Lutheran schools, those are things that we can take back to our schools as well. And Lutheran Special Education Ministries, my heart is right there in so many ways. And for us, for administrators, teachers, educators, pastors, congregations to understand the need to be able to bless students who have special needs and to provide those programs in our schools. The time is not only now, but it has been for a long time. So that's something I would like to be able to participate in assisting with that as well.
We're talking with Dr. Thomas Wrege on the podcast today. Tom, what I love about everything that you're suggesting in these ideas is the level of involvement that it is going to generate amongst our principals, amongst our teachers, and that is such a key thing. Involvement is a critical piece. I always hear Stacy McGee, our president and CEO, talk about how important it was for her as an educator, as a principal, and now in her role as our organization's president, to be involved, to be connected, to be out having conversations with colleagues, with superiors, with subordinates, to to be engaged in what's going on and what people are seeing and learning and feeling. And everything that you're saying here speaks to that. So, should we expect more opportunities? I mean, LA has already been pretty good about that, but should we expect more opportunities for our educators to be involved beyond just the four walls of their buildings?
I really do. One of the things I would like to start, I'm not sure how soon it will happen, is something called pulse surveys.
Hmm.
Um, and for those listening who haven't heard about that, it simplifies the typical annual survey that Lutheran schools do that takes a lot of effort to make happen. And you have to wade through all the answers, et cetera, objective and subjective. So the pulse surveys just send out typically monthly 3 to 5 questions tops. They're theme based, and they can ask pertinent questions about information LEA would desire to have so that we would know how to best serve those who are participating or just have an interest in the organization. And the nice part about pulse surveys is you don't have to wade through the data. It is totally organized and succinctly put together in a way that shows these are the action items you should consider. These are the areas of concern that have been shared with those who participated in the survey.
Nice.
And you can either do it monthly or quarterly, but if you do that, people don't have to sit down for 45 minutes and fill out a survey. It's just boom, 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 check the box, write a few comments if you want, and then those are captured in a way that can be helpful to the organization. So that's just one example of the question you asked me.
So, with the pulse surveys and getting that data, again, I'm obviously thinking that you're going through a process of learning the position, getting yourself, out there and hearing what people are saying, what people are wanting, and then finding the best ways to be able to provide and deliver that. But what are your hopes with being able to take that data? If you could look at the results of a given survey or a series of given surveys and then turn that around into something that's beneficial, how does that leave you at the end of the day or at the end of the week, feeling in terms of your responsibilities in this role?
Well, first of all, I'll start by saying I'm never afraid to say, let's not do this because I don't want a team to be overwhelmed.
Hmm.
And I think every place, every ministry has to have a niche. And so I think it would be very carefully looking for patterns and themes that emerge, and then working with the board and perhaps other constituents to try to figure out, would this be, a value proposition that we could share with um, those who are part of LEA, or should we not go there? And I think people would understand that we have to follow our mission, and we have to move forward. But I think gathering information is a strong part of communication. My dissertation was on communication best practices and how it affects the culture of Christian schools. And so I'm always looking for, how can the culture that we desire to have in LEA, which is amazing right now and needs to be sustainable, but perhaps it can be tweaked in some ways so that we communicate even better. And I think those are really good ways to serve people in the organization and beyond. If we can communicate what our strategies are, what our vision is, what our actions could be, what resources we desire, what resources might be missing that we could consider. So all those types of things. And I'm also typically one who will bring in a facilitator if I'm not an expert in the field, if we don't have someone on the board or on staff that's an expert who can lead us into this is what you need to do, this is how you do it, let's launch and move forward in that way.
So, Tom, when you first started out in education, you were a classroom teacher, and over the course of the years, you got to know the students and the parents of those students that you were working with. And I'm sure at that point, it felt like your Rolodex, which if you're younger than me, just Google it, was pretty full with just, I seem to know all these different people. And then you ascended up to the principalship, and now you needed to know every student in the school and every family in the school, and probably you throw in a couple of grandparents and aunts and uncles plus the elders and the different boards, etc. So your Rolodex got even larger. And then you got into education roles on a national level. Now you're starting to get to know even more people, and now you're sitting in the chair of the executive director of LEA. So I believe by rule that means you need to know exactly 6.8% of the world's population. At least it seems like John Laabs knows about
Oh,
6.8% of the
yes,
world's
he does.
population. So how you mentioned the balance that you're setting up in terms of needing that time to camp and to hunt and to kind of get back to your own base and to have that quiet time with God, which is phenomenal. But how do you see balancing that need for your personal side of things with also wanting to be available? Because that's the other thing that they tell us as leaders. We're supposed to be available to those people who we are leading and be able to give them time and an ear and to hear their thoughts and ideas. Now that the pool of people that you're serving has grown exponentially, how do you see yourself managing that and still being available but yet sane?
I like how you ended that question and still staying sane. Well, we have to set boundaries. We just do. Let's go back to, the time when Jesus had his years in ministry with his disciples and he taught the crowds and um, he had miracles as part of his ministry. But what did he do? He often went to a quiet place
Mhm.
to reflect and pray. He was tired. He was true God and true man. The true man part of him, he was tired and he needed to replenish. So even with needing to expand my electronic Rolodex, um, we have to have those boundaries. And I'll share something else with you that goes with your question. I think I've learned even better how to set boundaries since I've started working from home as a consultant for DAST. Um, there has to be a discipline to it. You can't have snacks all over the place or you'll get in trouble by eating stuff you shouldn't be eating.
Yeah,
You should have a way to exercise. And, like I've said before, to do the hobbies that you love to do that help you to relax and just enjoy life that God has given us. So even though your question is really a vast one and it's all encompassing, how do we bless all these people in a position that we have? Um, I have to pray through that yet. I don't know if I truly have the answer. I do know that I can keep my boundaries in place, and I'm not afraid to say this isn't working. We have to change this process. So maybe what worked for Dr. Laabs might not work as well for me.
fair.
And I've already been assured that, I'll be a different leader. John and I speak the same language, that's for sure. But I think I have the opportunity to be able to build those relationships, but maybe um, in a different way than John did. And I'll never have a Rolodex as large as his. It's just incredible the people he knows and continues to meet. But I'm excited about that part. But I'll always keep it in the back of my mind. There has to be that part where the sane um, part of your question has to be there, and that I can lead well. And I think to lead well, you have to be healthy in ministry and have that proper balance. And I think God teaches that to us in His Word. And like I said, as He lived His life, He was the perfect example of that too.
Outstanding. All right, just final thoughts here with Dr. Thomas Wrege, the new executive director, I should say, at LEA. Um, what just talk about where you're at in your head and in your heart. What you're excited about as you launch this new ministry opportunity. Maybe even what you're a little nervous about as you launch this new opportunity that God has placed before you.
Yeah, another good question. I think it's developing partnerships is a really big goal that I have. We already have partnerships, but I think there may be some that will be brand new, great opportunities. Like when I go to Scotland in March, I believe that will be a continuing partnership with global partners who love Christian education. And we have many Lutheran schools around the world too. I mean, in Africa, there are more Lutheran schools than we have here in the United States.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and I believe I'll have a trip to South Africa planned and potentially another one to Australia sometime in the future. We have 200 plus Lutheran schools in Australia last time I checked. So I think it's building partnerships not only nationally, but sometimes internationally. And again, the biggest reason is so that we can share Jesus with more people. And LEA can be that platform that I can always keep in mind, and the people who are working with me. Watch the excitement build, beware of the challenges, learn from them. And I believe God will truly bless as He has so many years in LEA, and He will continue to do so. But my big ask in this podcast that I'm blessed to be on with you, Rich, is that people would pray for me and support me in that way, because there will be nervousness along the way, and there will be uh, walls that we either have to go around or under or over, and sometimes we won't have the answers to the problems that we have. But I also believe that those challenges can make us stronger. They're not fun, typically, and they will come. But I just truly, truly desire the prayers of everyone out there listening, and also know that I will be a listening ear. And my contact information will be, I believe, thomas.reggie@lea.org. It's right there, ready to go. So I will be a listening ear, and I know I'll have lots of invitations out there. I might have to say no once in a while, but I am so looking forward to leading LEA. It's one of the greatest blessings of my career and life, and I just humbly thank God for the opportunity.
All right. So as we wrap up, Tom, the website for LEA to allow those teachers to tap into these resources, or for teachers who have not yet become members to be able to learn more about membership and all the different benefits from that. Can you tell us a little bit about where teachers should go, and if they're on there, what types of things they said? You had mentioned earlier some of the different pieces that you've got available for teachers.
Yeah, the listservs are all there too. They'll remain there, but I think we probably will have to pull some type of a marketing effort together, maybe through our district execs, maybe through Dr. Freeman at Office of School Ministry, just to say, here's a new opportunity. This is what LEA is. This is what LEA does. This is how it can best support you. We would love you to be part of it. So social media is typically the way to go. So I believe we'll probably have a push out there in this first quarter, just to uh, maybe reshare who we are and what we do, and welcome anyone who's interested in becoming part of the Lutheran Education Association.
All right. Tom, It is always a pleasure to have a conversation with you, whether we're recording it for other people to listen in on or not. Can't thank you enough for your time, especially with the transition that you're undergoing. But blessings to you, to Kevin, to your family as you make these changes. And again, I'm sure on behalf of a lot of us out here in the Lutheran education world. Congratulations and thank you. Definitely a phenomenal choice to be able to lead us in this capacity, and we look forward to following your lead and providing assistance and being involved, like you had mentioned earlier, in helping to bring about the positive changes that you've got envisioned for us.
Thank you, Rich. You always bless me, as does Lutheran Special Education Ministries, and I know God will continue to lead. Thanks.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone who is listening in today. Again, if you liked what you heard, please share the link with other educators so they too can learn not only about Tom and LEA, but the many other topics that the podcast has covered over the years. Now in our 8th year, which is crazy to think about. But please check out the list, like, share, subscribe, whatever your website is where you go to listen to the podcast, and continue to offer your thoughts on what we can provide for you so we can continue to make the podcast better and better. But for now, thank you again for your listening. We appreciate you listening to the Lutheran Education Podcast, brought to you by Lutheran Special Education Ministries.
Thank you for listening. We'll meet you again in 2 weeks for the Lutheran Education Podcast. For more information about LSEM, go to our website at luthsped.org. You can follow us on X by going to www.x.com/LSEM1873 or on Facebook at facebook.com/LSEM1873. If you're on Instagram, you can find us by going to @LSEM1873. We'll meet you again in 2 weeks for the Lutheran Education Podcast. Did you enjoy today's podcast? Want to help get the word out? Please leave us a review on the app you're using to listen today.